Welcome back. Now let's start the program in earnest. And we're going to be looking at the Grazing Reserve Bill. The history of grazing reserves is as old as Nigeria and is practiced and legislated for the use and protection and the benefit of the people of northern Nigeria, especially because they're the ones who have a history and have a culture of a custom of pasturing. So this bill has been introduced and it seeks to extend that practice to other parts of Nigeria which have no history of or connection to pasturing and cattle rearing. Now, to look at this with us this morning, I'd like to welcome to my left Oscar Owundiwe, who's a social commentator. Yeah, says Oscar. As well as Honorable Sunday Karimi, who is a member of the House of Representatives. Good morning.
Good morning.
We also expect Mr. Shukbo Ojo, who's a legal practitioner. And I might also add that Oscar, apart from being a social commentator, is also a legal practitioner. The National Grazing Reserve Bill of 2016, sponsored by Honorable Sadiq Ibrahim, provides for the establishment of the National Grazing Reserve Commission, which shall have power to establish at least one cattle reserve in each state of the Federation. The Commission also has other terms of reference, but we will start by looking at this issue of one cattle reserve in each state of the Federation. Oscar, let me begin with you. We don't have pasturing culture and history, particularly south of the Niger. And this bill is seeking to establish a reserve in every state. So we're going to have 36 ranches and one for the federal capital territory. That's 37 of them. How do the people who don't have that culture fit into this picture?
Thank you very much. First of all, initially when I heard about the grazing bill coming up, I got excited. I got excited because you don't need to have a culture to learn how to do. After all, we eat meat. We probably even eat more of it. You don't need to have the culture to learn the business. Initially, I was also of the opinion that the federal government has a great plan to now take over all the cows in Nigeria. And because the truth is, as of today, one cow costs more than 1 barrel of oil. And if the federal government was going to take this over, then we're going to be making more money without depending on the dollar. Because look at it this way, we have about 160 million people, and let's say 40 million are children, babies who don't eat meat. So you have about 120 million people. Let's say because we're poor people and we give about 200 people eating one cow. If you divide 200 by that 120 million, you find out how many cows are slaughtered per day. If you multiply that by 200,000 naira, you see how many billions we're talking about. And these people who own these cows don't pay no tax. So when I heard about it, I got excited. I said, okay, maybe government wants to do something about this, until I started getting to know the details. By the time the details started coming about the president himself will appoint who will head the commission, and then if you have a problem with anything, you have to go get the permission of the Attorney General before you can sue. In other words, if the Attorney General doesn't give you that permission, you can't even claim any right to say, look, this happened, you're not happy about this, or something of that sort. I started feeling something else is amiss. And The Honorable luckily is here with us. He must have seen it firsthand. He must have heard about it. But for those of us on the other side of the divide who find it difficult to understand what is going on in certain circles, particularly those who are supposed to be leading us, nobody's happy about it and people are scared.
Why are people scared?
More because it's just... First, you have a National Poultry Association. It used to be headed by Murtala Nyako, former governor of Adamawa State. Federal government didn't get interested.
The legislature didn't get interested.
They didn't get interested.
Okay.
We have today, in some states, they are beginning to have associations of these people, this fish pond thing. These people who are, they are beginning to get an association.
Fish farmers.
That's right, fish farmers. The federal government is not interested. Oh, please, there are goats. The federal government is not interested.
So why should it be interested in a grazing reserve bill?
Why this? Our factories are locked down. The federal government is not going to Brazil to get raw materials. Why this?
Okay. Well, we've since been joined by Mr. Olashukwu Ojo, a legal practitioner. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us.
Thanks.
Now, let me come to Honorable Sunday Karimi. This bill, should it be looked at with some amount of attention, would suggest that the herdsmen will become sedentary because they will now reside on those reserves where they graze their cattle. Am I making any sense?
Okay. Let
Yes.
me thank you for this opportunity. Let me first correct something. This bill is not government sponsored. It's not sponsored by the federal government. Let's take that one out of it.
Oh, good.
And as a elected representative of the people, we owe it a responsibility to the nation to enact laws that will ensure good governance and peaceful coexistence of the country. When I was coming this morning, I bought some newspaper. The headline I saw on the front page of one newspaper read, "Farmers amass arms to combat killings. Hunters ask blacksmiths to produce local guns. Communities form vigilante groups to repel invasion." I also went through this morning, I saw a write-up, Abia State approved Bakassi boys to, let me look at it. Abia State government approved that Bakassi boys should be used to
Counter the...
Fulani herdsmen. Abia approves use of Bakassi boys. As responsible elected representatives of the people, when we see any issue that will undermine the security and peaceful coexistence of our people, it is our responsibility to make laws so that we can live together in unity. So I've said this bill was not government sponsored. In fact, the idea of this bill started from the 7th Assembly. I first brought the bill. I'm from Kogi State, and we had issues with herdsmen attacking farmers, killing, and all that. And I said to myself, how are we going to solve this problem? That was how this bill came up. At the 7th Assembly, it went through the first and second reading. It went for public hearing, but it was not reported. So since it was not reported for the public hearing, it's as if no bill was submitted. So I introduced the same bill in the 8th Assembly, Honorable Ibrahim, my colleague, came. We dialogued because my first bill had some ideas of, just like you said, Northern Nigerian laws of those days, we had these grazing routes and reserves. In fact, there are more than 300 grazing routes and grazing reserves in Northern Nigeria of old. But development, growth in population has taken over most of these reserves. And we said to ourselves, let's even forget about routes. Let's concentrate on reserves. Because if we allow routes, the problem we're trying to solve, routes will not solve it. Because the initial idea had routes. That let's take away the grazing route. Let's have reserves. The idea is that government, in cooperation with the state government, because the Land Use Act, 1978 Land Use Act, gives the ownership of land to states and the local government. They are holding this as a trust for the people. We said, okay, let the federal government